Incremental greetings. Welcome to the third episode of Pleasuable Learning podcast. Today it's the second time we have Axel with us from Bulgaria. Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
What's up? If you didn't hear the previous episode, he's from Bulgaria, he's 23 years old, and he's now a free learner, but before that he was in the school system. Okay, so in this episode we will focus on the bad habits acquired at the school and how his life changed when he discovered free learning until this day. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How do you want to start? Chronologically or by topic?
I'm not sure I can trace my bad habits chronologically.
Okay, so by
guess,
topic.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's start when you dropped out of school and that was a definitive thing that you didn't redo. What you thought is, okay, now I have dropped out of school, and what will be my future?
Yeah, I'm not sure I was thinking too far into the future. I think I just, wanted to learn this or that, or, yeah. Actually, so we said in the previous podcast how one of the reasons I dropped out was to focus a little bit more on programming because I wasn't doing that at school. And actually, as I was learning more about programming, I started to realize that maybe some mathematical knowledge would be necessary, but I wasn't too proficient in mathematics. So I said to myself, okay, let's leave the programming down for now and let's focus on the mathematics. And actually, this was maybe my first bad decision because instead of saying I will learn a bit of mathematics, a bit of programming, a bit of mathematics, and so on, I said to myself, I won't touch programming until I have become proficient in mathematics. And, it's kind of similar to what happens in school. You don't learn what is taught in 10th grade if you're in 5th grade right now. You take step by step. And I thought in a similar way when it came to my learning. Mathematics is a prerequisite to programming. Let's first study that, and only then can I begin studying programming. So I actually, even though I left school with the intention of studying programming more, I left it behind for, I think it was a couple of years actually.
Wow.
So that I can study mathematics. And I actually started with mathematics from the very ground up, like literally from 4th grade. I went to Khan Academy and so on.
Oh, I was about to ask you this. If you used Khan Academy, because I think it covers from the very basic, like 1+1, I think, to high school level of maths, I think.
Yeah, so Khan Academy was one thing, and I also discovered the art of problem solving. It is like this website where you can, I guess it offers a lot of things, but one of the things is a lot of mathematics books, which are, and I bought the pre-algebra book, which was very beginner level, started from there and just started reading all the rest of the books after that. Yeah, and this actually reminds me of yet another bad habit. I was reading a book at a time. Like I wouldn't start reading the how can I? So if I would open a geometry book and I even see something related to algebra in there, I would say to myself, okay, I first need to read the algebra book before I read the geometry book. So you see, I'm making these very macro decisions instead of making smaller ones. Like I will only learn the chapter in the algebra book that is relevant for understanding this geometry chapter. I was thinking very macro based at the book level instead of at the concept level, you know. So that was another one of my bad habits, should I say?
Yeah. So you attribute this to the school habit. So instead of going by subject, for instance, it's I think I need the whole book before proceeding. Instead of just the enough prior knowledge you need for that particular subject. Geometry. I think you said geometry.
Yeah, geometry, right?
Yeah. So I want to ask you about Khan Academy, because Khan Academy you did everything by yourself, right?
Yeah.
So what was your experience, and if you can compare this with how you learn mathematics at the school?
Oh well, I actually didn't learn any mathematics at school, so I'm not sure I can compare the two. I mean, when it came to school during the math classes, I was basically just tuning out. I wasn't paying any attention. They were just so boring. And when it came to Khan Academy, obviously I was doing it out of my own choice and was much more engaged. So like it was an enormous difference, you know. They're incomparable, but it is only because of my interest level between the two, and also my freedom to choose what to learn.
Because I'm guessing you choose the order, the topics, the piece, self-paced.
Yeah, well, actually, it would have been better for me to choose the order of the topics, but as I said, I had this very linear idea of what learning is supposed to be like, and I was learning. My learning sequence was that which is provided by Khan Academy. So the order in which the subjects are presented there, that was the order in which I was learning. Even if, as I was scanning what is going to be covered in a given module or whatever, if I see something that is more interesting than the next topic in the sequence, I would still study what is next and not what is more interesting, you know?
Oh, interesting. So you're still focused on, let's say, the curriculum and not your land drive.
Yeah. I mean, I had this idea that there were these very smart people who know the right order in which you're supposed to do things. And if you do things in that order, regardless of what you feel like, you will learn better than if you just follow your interest and maybe go out of sequence if you feel like it. You know, I just thought that people had realized that, okay, this is the way you learn, this is the sequence in which you learn things, and any other sequence is less efficient. And with that mentality, I just did things in sequence, even though at times I didn't feel like doing so.
Exactly, because you thought that was the best choice possible, the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in Khan Academy, you studied maths through English language?
Yeah, in the English. I mean, there were some videos which had Bulgarian subtitles, but I ignored those. Yeah.
So that's a difference, right? So in the school system, you learn maths through Bulgarian language.
Yeah, definitely. I learned basically all my mathematics in English. I had no, actually that's false. I did still use my old textbooks, and in fact, I bought new ones. Which, for example, I had only the textbooks from 10th and 11th grade, and I bought new ones for 9th, 7th, 6th, and so on. So I did still use Bulgarian textbooks, but to be honest, they were much more uninteresting to me than the English equivalents. Yeah, maybe it was, I'm just speculating here, but maybe it was because I had developed some kind of toxic memories towards the Bulgarian textbooks or what, but I just didn't find them appealing at all.
Exactly. So they were remembering all the old school times.
Yeah.
And Khan Academy, it's different. So the book, it's a website, it's in English. So you didn't have that relationship, that link to toxic memories.
Yeah, I mean, the link with mathematics was still kind of there, but it was definitely learning at Khan Academy was more it was more enjoyable. But Khan Academy wasn't my only source. I would like find books on the internet. There are free mathematics books. Like I remember finding this gigantic pre-calculus textbook, like 1,000 pages or whatever. I found a lot of resources on the internet, and definitely to learn mathematics at the high school level, and I can from experience say it is possible. And in fact, I don't think we touched upon this on the last episode, but after leaving school, a couple of years after free learning, I actually wanted to get into the university to study mathematics, like pure mathematics only, and I had to take an exam for that. And just by studying on my own, starting from scratch, I was able to get a very good mark. I think it was top 15 in the country, and only because I didn't have my high school diploma was I unable to get into the university. No, that was the only reason why. And I actually did something very stupid. I tried to fake the diploma, which is illegal, of course.
Yeah.
But thankfully, those plans didn't work out. And I wasn't able to get into the university because of this lack of diploma. And but if I had the diploma, I definitely would have gotten in because I had a high enough mark on the exam itself. And that exam is actually very tough. And what I'm trying to get at here is that it is possible just through a couple of years of self-learning to develop mathematical knowledge at the level of what many students take 12 years to develop in the school system,
Yeah, exactly. So you studied from scratch.
Yeah, from scratch, and at 17 years old. And at 19, I was able to basically get an excellent mark on this tough exam. And
Interesting. So with very less time commitment, and
because the interest is there. When the desire is there, and you have the freedom to choose how you learn. Even though I didn't make all of the choices, like as I said, I was following the sequence. But just being free to learn and being interested in learning it, that is a huge factor which boosts the efficiency with which you're learning, definitely.
So exactly. So even if people could label you as a high school dropout, you were getting like a pretty decent mark on the math. Have you told this to somebody?
Which part?
Hey, I get this mark. I didn't get in college because I don't have the diploma.
I mean, my circle of friends knows about this. Okay. My parents, of course, know about it.
And what was their reaction?
I mean, they weren't that surprised because they knew I was spending so much time learning the mathematics. So, but actually, I think my parents were a bit surprised. They expected a high mark, but I basically got a almost perfect mark, and that was maybe very unexpected to them. But now that I think of it, maybe it convinced them a little bit more that this self-learning things has some benefits to it. Because previously I really did have a lot of trouble with mathematics.
It's like some kind of proof. To your parents, hey, I can learn by myself, and look at this.
And this is actually one of the problems of self-learning. Even though you're learning so much more efficiently, because you're not being graded, it's maybe a bit harder to demonstrate the knowledge which you acquire. And even like a lot of the things I'm studying, they're interesting for me personally, and are maybe not very interesting to people in my surroundings. And so it's very hard for them to gauge that I am actually that my learning efficiency is at a high level. Like a lot of the things which I'm studying right now are about these esoteric programming languages, and if I were to I can't talk to anyone in my circle about those things, and so they can't see how I am progressing. And this is, I think, a tough problem for self-learners to they have difficulty trying to demonstrate how much they're actually learning.
So first is the appreciation of others. So the others cannot appreciate your learning process. And the main reason for that is that free learning is not measurable. You don't have a standardized test or some scale to have, okay, this guy is up here or lower here in the standardized test, the percentile or whatever. It's if you're free learning, who can people appreciate that, all your knowledge you acquired. That's one of the key points to realize that free learning is not measurable, and that's one of the difficulties to introduce people to free learning.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to show your progress.
Yeah. So if they want proof,
programming it's a bit easy. With programming, it's a bit easier because you can demonstrate some projects. But I'm not too sure about other fields. Yeah,
exactly. So if you develop a software, it's okay. You don't have a diploma or whatever, but you did an entire software by yourself. So that's easy to measure as a proof.
Yeah.
You have the skill set and so on and so on. Yeah, that's a very good thing. And other than maths, so you spent some years studying maths by yourself, and that was a prerequisite to introduce yourself to programming.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was. I mean, now I realize that you can get pretty far in programming without having this advanced mathematics knowledge. But the way I was thinking at the time, I was studying a lot of mathematics, which I thought was necessary, but which ultimately ended up not being. I mean, I still don't regret learning that. I still found it interesting. I still find maybe I can apply it in the future for some things I can't anticipate right now, but it definitely wasn't necessary for programming. However, each time that I said to myself, let's get programming, myself, okay, I am not finished with the mathematics, so I can't do that. No, and this was a very stupid restriction I was putting on myself. Yeah.
You were self-coercing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can attribute this bad habit from school to self-coercion.
Well, I attribute it to school, but it is not a direct consequence of school. So at school, I think I lost my self-esteem in a sense. I didn't think that my brain was suited to doing mathematics or programming because I sucked at doing those things at school. And so I said to myself, if my brain can't do those things naturally, then maybe I can artificially force myself to do certain things, which would enable me to do them. So I was trying to, instead of letting my learning process flow naturally, I was trying to coerce it because I thought that naturally, if I didn't force anything, I wouldn't get results because thus far I hadn't gotten any results in mathematics or in programming or those things. So instead of saying I didn't develop an interest in those things because school took freedom away from me, and conditions of freedom are prerequisites to developing an interest intrinsically, instead of saying that, I said to myself that those things I'm just not naturally suited to be able to do, and so how can I force myself to do them? So in that way, school influenced me.
Yeah, so I could say you're talking about learn helplessness. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at programming.
I'm not sure it is helplessness because I did want to take action. Helplessness would have been I am not I can't do anything to become good at mathematics or programming, so better not try anything at all. Whereas I thought that I wasn't naturally, instinctively good at those things, so I must take conscious action to discipline myself and maybe force myself to do certain things so that I would become good at them. So because I'm still taking actions to try and get good, this means that I wasn't helpless. I didn't feel helpless, but I was trying to. I was basically ignoring a lot of signals from my learned drive because I was forcing myself to do certain things. Like if I were presented with a mathematics book and I didn't find it intrinsically interesting, maybe I would interpret this lack of interest as my lack of natural aptitude. And I would try to force myself to read a book in order to overcome this lack of natural aptitude towards mathematics. And while maybe this aversion to learn the book was just the learned drive telling me that maybe it's not the right time to do it, maybe it's not good to learn this right now, maybe it's just that there is nothing relevant in this book for you, and so on. So I was ignoring a lot of signals from my learned drive system because I thought that they were an indication of my lack of natural aptitude towards what I was studying.
Okay, very good answer. So let me rephrase the same question. So it's not learned helplessness, but it's, let's say, it's attribution that you had difficulty on learning mathematics. So it was, let's say, your fault.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that, it was definitely my fault that at this point in my life, I wasn't good at mathematics, because I would see these people my same age who were so much more advanced than me in it. And I was saying to myself, okay, what is the difference between me and them? And like one of the answers I would give myself is maybe I just don't have the same discipline as them. Who knows? Maybe they just had more freedom, or they were exposed to the mathematics in a way which made it interesting for them, or whatever. But I wasn't thinking in those terms. I was thinking in terms of I lack self-discipline. They do have self-discipline, and this is why they have achieved those things which I want to achieve. And so I said to myself, I must discipline myself to achieve those same results. And I think that was a big mistake.
Interesting. So back then you attribute that success to discipline. So students with good grades, at least in mathematics, were thanks to having a very high confidence of coping with all the chores.
Well, I thought that no, I'm not sure if I could phrase it in terms of chores. I just think, I thought that they just had the strength to overcome the displeasure they were feeling when reading mathematics books. And of course, students who are good at mathematics most likely are not experiencing any displeasure when reading the books. However, when I was reading them, very often I would feel that displeasure, maybe because it was boring, maybe because it was too hard or whatever. And when I would feel that displeasure, and I think the good decision to make at that point is to just switch to learning something else. Instead of doing that, I would persist with the displeasure and try to push through the difficulty in a sense. And now that I think of it, because previously I had this great passion for bodybuilding, and in there, pushing through the pain is kind of a virtue. Maybe I applied a wrong metaphor for that in my learning, and
you mean no pain, no gain?
Yeah, that kind of mentality. I thought that it also applies to learning itself. But the thing is, the important thing to note here is that when any bad strategy I develop, even if I develop it outside of school, I persist with it because of school, because in there I lost my belief in my natural capacity to learn without being forced. So any flawed learning strategy, if I had been free learning for a longer time, I would have known that I have the natural ability to learn. And so when someone tells me you need to force yourself to learn something, I would just know that that is false. But because I hadn't been free learning, I wasn't able to detect that forcing yourself is a bad idea. That by learning on my own without forcing myself, I would still achieve great results.
Exactly. Such a good observation. And what time you realized, oh, maybe it's not the only choice I have?
You mean when I realized that learning with pleasure is... I think it was maybe 2 years ago now when I started reading more of Piotr Wozniak's writings at Supreme Guru. At that point, I kind of became much more convinced that pleasure was essential to learning, that forcing yourself to learn isn't likely to lead to good outcomes, and so on. I mean, even before that, I had read such things that, if you don't love learning, you won't get very good at what you're trying to learn, and so on. But I thought to myself that if I force myself for long enough, then maybe I will start to love things then, Whereas reading more about the pleasure of learning from Supreme Guru, I kind of abandoned that belief.
Yeah, so if I understood that correctly, you mean fake it until you make it. So
yeah, absolutely.
You were trying, okay, I am pushing and pushing, and eventually I will get the pleasure.
Yes.
Of learning. Yeah. Okay. So and you saw that the years were passing by and you didn't get the pleasure.
Well, now I did feel some pleasure. I mean, I wouldn't have stuck with it for so long if I didn't. There were definitely moments of really enjoying what I was learning about. But the point is that those moments of enjoyment will be much more frequent if you just follow your learn drive and don't try to make rational learning choices. Don't try to... How can I say it? If you just follow the learn drive, much more frequently you will experience the pleasure of learning than if you try to rationally control how you learn, if that makes sense.
You mean go by the flow of what?
It's not exactly about the flow. I'm not sure I can describe what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah. So I guess, for instance, you're that used of the self-discipline that you have to give up that strictness. Maybe I was planning to learn maths, but I saw that it's not that interesting or that relevant for programming, so I go in a different direction.
I would make plans of the sort. I will read these 4 books, and I will read that book on that day, this book on this day, and so on. And this is like planning learning choices into the future. But if on the 3rd day I had planned to read some book and I sit down and I don't feel like doing it, this not feeling like doing it is probably a signal from the learn drive that reading the book at that point is not a good choice. But I would still force myself to read it because previously I had planned to read it on that day. And when I feel the aversion towards reading the book that I had planned, then I interpreted this aversion as an opportunity to apply self-discipline in order to overcome the aversion. Whereas the right choice would have been to just listen to my learn drive and not read that book and find something else that is more interesting. Yeah, and despite my as I was planning out my learning decisions for the future, I still sometimes was lucky enough to guess. Like if I was planning to read a certain book on a given day, some of the days it was really a pleasure to learn it, to read it. So sometimes I was lucky for my plans to coincide with what my learn drive was saying. So I was still experiencing pleasure in my learning, but I think that I would have experienced much more if I had abandoned any kind of rational planning of my learning process and instead just let the learn drive take over.
Exactly. So let's say you had like a self curriculum that you wanted to follow.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. So, will you think that you undid that bad behavior, and you regain the self land drive to follow your drive?
Did I regain it? Yeah, I think I definitely did, especially in the last a couple of years when I began to read Wozniak's writings more extensively. I definitely noticed a lot more pleasure in my learning. I definitely noticed a great boost in the efficiency with which I was doing that. And on some days I get super excited about learning something, and I don't remember having many similar days in the past when I was self-coercing myself. So that's one of the things which has convinced me, personally convinced me that just relaxing, not trying to self-coerce yourself, and just learning as you feel like learning, that this will lead to great results. So yeah.
Nice. So you said that one of the big contributors to that change is reading the Wozniak writings about about the free learning.
Yeah, definitely, I would say that. Yeah.
So my question is, before that, did you had exposure to the concept of free learning?
No, not at all. In fact, I was kind of doubting if I had made the right decision. Like when I couldn't get into the university to study mathematics, I was really a bit disappointed because I thought that I wouldn't be able to learn as much on my own as I was learning. I mean, that I could have learned if I had been able to get into the university. So yeah, I was kind of skeptical towards any notion which is similar to free learning. So, but like maybe a mistake I made at that point was that I wasn't communicating as much with like university students and so on, because I think that if I had done that, I would have been able to better like compare myself to them and see if my studying methods are more efficient than theirs, and I would have been able to see that by self-learning I was actually learning much more efficiently than if I had been in university. In fact, recently I went to a programming course, which was in a very similar setting to a classroom. Like you go there for 4 hours, a teacher lectures you and so on. And I noticed that a lot of the people there who are university students, I was doing much better than them in the programming stuff, and this kind of convinced me that actually by self-learning I was able to learn much more efficiently than a lot of people who study at the university.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on that course? That it's just like a virtual classroom?
Yeah, well, I actually wanted to leave it prematurely. Like in the middle of the course, I didn't want to be there anymore. But yeah, I still persisted. But yeah, I definitely didn't enjoy it much. And I wanted to leave the course because I was just sure that I could learn much more efficiently on my own. Yeah, didn't enjoy it much. And what's important to note is that many people who enjoy this course, they say that it's 1,000 times better than the university. But for me, self-learning was 1,000 times better than the course. So it's like self-learning is 1,000,000 times better than the university,
Exactly. So it's like they don't know there's such a thing as free learning.
Yeah.
So, okay. And do you recall any more bad habits that you acquired on school?
Oh man, I mean, there are just so many to list. Like if you go to the bad habits article, a lot of the emails are from me there. Yeah, you can read more on that. But I mean, there are just so many to list.
So you have like a checklist that this bad habit I had, this one also, So out of the 50, you are most all of them acquired through school system.
Yeah, well, I actually haven't counted them, but a great deal.
Okay, but then what do you think are the most relevant, the more persistent to make get rid of those bad habits?
Wow, the most persistent.
So let me rephrase that. So now you're 6 years off dropping out.
Yeah.
Do you have still a bad habit?
Well, I think I have eradicated a lot of them, but maybe there are many which I am just not aware of are bad habits. Like, because remember that a lot of the bad habits that I realized as such, I realized they were bad habits in the past 2 years. And so 4 years before that, I had employed them extensively. So maybe something similar is going on right now. There are bad habits which are making my learning less efficient, and I'm just not aware of them. And I kind of constantly have to pay attention to myself. Okay, am I learning? Am I making the right choice here, and so on? And I'm actually reminded that one of the very dangerous things about your learning process itself being made inefficient because of certain false beliefs is that, like, normally, how do we get out of false beliefs? We acquire more knowledge, right? And we realize that they are false beliefs. But if your learning itself is impeded, then you'll much more slowly realize that those false beliefs which are impeding you, it will take much longer for you to realize that they are false beliefs. Yeah. Not to mention all of the other false beliefs which you are harboring right now, and which will take a long time for you to get rid of because of your reduced learning efficiency. So it's when your learning efficiency suffers because of false beliefs, it's like a double whammy.
By false beliefs, can you elaborate more on that?
Yes. So a false belief, for example, would be to believe that forcing yourself to learn is an efficient way to learn. And so because I'm learning less efficiently due to these small false beliefs, it will take longer for me to realize it is a false belief.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say, for instance, in the school system, you until the age of 16, right?
I left at 17.
17.
Yeah.
Okay. One of recurrent topic that it's usually left unnoticed is the sleep. Because to attend class, you have to break your sleep pattern. Did you experience something related to sleep when going to the school?
I mean, yeah, definitely. My sleep was like all of my classmates. I was getting up using an alarm clock, and this is absolutely very detrimental not only to your learning but to your brain health and things of that sort. But I can happily say that I haven't used an alarm clock for a really long time, for like 6 years, ever since I left school. So my sleep now has been much better, and right now I'm not having any issues. But back then, definitely, it wasn't a healthy situation.
Also, just right before dropping out, even where you are coercing yourself at home, you weren't using the alarm clock.
Yeah. Happily, I didn't use that though.
Oh.
Yeah.
And even before reading that on What's writings, that you had already 4 years of experience of using no alarm clock at all.
Yeah, I mean, I was free running my sleep without knowing that such a thing was even. I didn't know that was even a thing. I just slept naturally.
That's the key. So you did this naturally, not because you read that was good.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, yeah. I think all people have an aversion to getting up before it is time to get up. So I just followed that.
Did you have any social issues with that? For instance, your parents told you it's too late.
Yeah, but
go sleep earlier or this kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, my parents sometimes tell me stuff like, "Don't you think you're going to bed too late?" or "Don't you think you're getting up too late?" But I kind of ignore that. But other social issues beyond that, I'm lucky enough to not have had such issues. Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I was lucky enough not to have any other social issues with that.
Okay. I see. Okay. And I am curious, during your school system, have you felt envy? Envy?
During the school system,
yeah,
maybe not so much, because none of my classmates were really geniuses or any of that. But after leaving school, I definitely think I felt envy a lot of the times. Like when I started to get into mathematics, I saw all of those people who are my age or lower age than me, and that definitely triggered envy in me. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the reasons is this school-born idea that you are supposed to know certain things at a certain age, and if you don't know those things at that age, then maybe you are not as intelligent as the other people. Like if you don't know how to read by age whatever, 6 or I don't know what the age is supposed to be, but if you can't read by a certain age, then you are maybe not very smart. If you don't know this or that mathematical thing by this age, you're not very smart, and so on. So my starting to learn mathematics from scratch was kind of painful, because I was learning first grade stuff when I was 17, 10 years after I was supposed to know those things. So that was kind of painful. And I definitely felt envious towards people who knew much more than me.
So that envy was focused on the knowledge, or you thought they were more intelligent, and you felt envy because of that.
Yeah, I envied their intelligence, basically, to put it in simple sentence.
And those people you felt envy from were in the school system? From college?
Yeah, I guess most of them were. I'm talking about people who I see on forums, for example, or people who I'm communicating with online and stuff like that. And since most people go to school, I would guess that, yes, they were in school. But, yeah.
So there are people who were online, not in your real
yeah, I'm actually not communicating that much with people in my physical environment, like in physical surroundings. I'm more communicating with people on the web and over the internet, and so on. And yeah.
That spark one question. That do you have a chance in your surroundings to practice or share your knowledge, your free learning? So, do you know any other free learner in real life?
Wow, no. Yeah, I definitely don't.
You don't?
Well, free learners in the sense of not going to university and instead choosing to learn entirely on their own. I'm not sure I have many such acquaintances, but of course there are people who are already out of the university or whatever, and you can say that they are free learning. I mean, we learn all the time, even as adults. and maybe you can consider that free learning as well. But I'm not sure I know of many people who consciously chose not to pursue a formal education and to instead learn on their own.
Interesting. So, just to be sure, so let's say you want to share Teosnet writings or what we are discussing now. Will you be able to do it on your surroundings with people?
No. I mean, I have tried sharing Piotr's writings with so many people, but to be honest, not many find them interesting. But I have kind of given up doing that because I think they start to find it annoying, like me constantly bombarding them with this or that article. But I'm not too sure I can share a lot of free learning knowledge with other people in my immediate vicinity. But of course, thank God for the internet. So
yeah, exactly. You are lucky you were born into a digital era.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So why do you attribute this that barrier that people are not even willing to get a chance of learning?
Well, I haven't thought about it much. I think maybe one of the reasons is that they don't want to think that. Okay, so imagine someone has spent 4 years at the university. Maybe they don't want to hear that they have made a big mistake. That free learning is so much more efficient than being composed to learn certain things. Maybe that has something to do with it. And to be honest, I'm not sure many people are that interested in learning how to learn efficiently or are that interested in education. So, there's that. I mean, they just have other problems on their mind. I mean, I'm not saying that them not being interested is anything bad or stuff like that. Maybe it's just that they have other interests and free learning kind of falls down the priority list,
Yeah,
it's
so let's say they have kind of lost their land drive. So in their other life, they are not that keen on learning by itself, whatever they want to learn. It could be anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can comment on that, about them having close to their learn drive. Like, I know many of my friends, most of them have very healthy interests like cars or I don't know, maybe some are very passionate about football or stuff like that. But I'm not too sure about them having closed their learn drive. Although it is probable that their learn drive has been at least somewhat inhibited because this is a natural consequence of being in school for a long time. But I'm not too sure about that.
Okay, and then just to outline one thing is that you focus on the performance of learning, that it's better. And I don't recall now the exact word you said. Efficiency. That is more efficient.
You mean? Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that free learning is more efficient than school learning.
Okay, but I just wanted to point out that it's more than that. It's more than efficiency. It's also a lot healthier.
Of course. I mean, in fact, the main reason why I'm doing it is perhaps not the efficiency, but just the well-being I receive from it, like the joy I receive from it, and the huge displeasure I receive from any other kinds of learning. Like, I can't tolerate boredom, and that's what I experience when I am forced to learn something. I mean, definitely the learning efficiency is not the main reason to engage in free learning.
Exactly. That's the point I wanted to convey. Okay, and when you said you tried to introduce people to free learning with no success. But
I haven't tried very hard, to tell you the truth. I just when I see some article related to free learning, like let's say Peter Gray's book Free to Learn, which I just love very much. When I find such a source of information which I love, I naturally feel the need to communicate with someone else, to share it with someone else.
Exactly. That's an
when that happens, when I share some article, I rarely get responses of, "Oh yeah, this is so cool," But I mean, that's normal. Like a lot of the things that people send me, I don't find very interesting. So yeah, I mean, but I haven't tried very persistently to talk about free learning with my friends.
Because one thing is introducing people to free learning, and the other is making people aware of the harms of the school system, the Prussian school system. And my question is, have you dig down on that? Have you tried to talk to anybody about the school, what you learned? That, maybe the school it's not a good thing, or there are better options.
Yeah, I mean, I have brought up the issue, but again, not very extensively how I talked about it, because I just see in their faces that they're just not that interested in that topic, And again, I'm not saying this negatively or derogatory in any way. It's just that they don't find it interesting, so I don't talk much about it. So I can't comment on how we might, effectively spread the word,
Okay, so the reason is that they don't. So how do you perceive the fact that they don't get this as interesting topic? Because a school is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I know it's a big deal, but maybe they're just sick of school and don't want to hear anything more about it. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe like when they hear they've been in school for so long, and when they just hear the topic we mentioned, they don't want to hear it. Maybe.
Yeah. So you say about toxic memories. Oh, don't talk me about the school. I'm fed up already. Don't talk about anything related to school. You mean this way?
Yeah.
Okay.
That, and also, I mean, the person saying, I just don't care about that. And I haven't dug deeper into finding out why this lack of interest exists. But again, yeah.
Okay. So, can you name another bad habit relevant that is persisting still to this day?
Persisting to this day. Well, the thing is that if I knew of a habit I have right now, I most likely would have eradicated it, so it wouldn't exist in a sense. But I think I've been free from bad habits for a while now, so at least the ones which I am aware of, and I don't think I have been under their influence for some time, so I can't give you any examples. But again, if anyone is interested in seeing the myriad of bad habits, they can just go check out the 50 Bad Habits Learned at School article at Super Memo Guru. You'll find a lot of examples there.
Exactly, and more than 50 actually.
Yeah, a lot more than 50. I think he said something like 100 and something. I don't know.
And let me see, bad habits. Okay, now I want to ask you, so when you realized free learning was a good thing, when reading about Wozniak writings, about the pleasure of learning and so on, how did you feel? Because I'm guessing you had a strong cognitive dissonance of what your beliefs from the school system and these new beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, on the one hand, I was so happy to hear what he said. It was like it changed my life literally. I mean, I was just so happy to see that learning by following my natural instincts and following my pleasures and so on, that actually does lead to very effective learning, and in fact the most effective kind of learning. But on the other hand, I thought about all of that time that I had spent under the influence of flawed learning strategies and bad habits. And this realization that I had, in a sense, wasted so much time, that triggered a very high sense of regret that I had made these very bad mistakes when it came to the way that I learned. And I said to myself, man, if I had known about the philosophy behind free learning from the very beginning, like from the very first day after I had left school, I think that I would have learned a lot more than I did actually. So to summarize, it was I was very happy to read the articles, but at the same time I felt a very painful sense of regret. So it was yeah.
So it's like a bittersweet experience.
Absolutely, yes.
And at the end of the day, I think the positive wins, right?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, when I'm talking about regret, most of the time that regret is just flushed when I just engage in learning, like in pleasurable learning. I mean, when I'm actually learning, I don't think about the regret. There's just no room for it. But from time to time, when I analyze myself and I remember that I spent so much time I could have spent in a much better way, then that regret definitely triggers, and it's a painful moment. But definitely the positives outweigh that painful feeling by a very large margin.
Exactly. And if it's good for you, I waste more time than you did. Yeah. So the reading here is that, so since you live both sides of the coin, so now that you are free and you are free learning, you appreciate more that freedom because you have been deprived of that freedom.
Yeah, and in a sense, I was depriving myself of. I was depriving myself. I was depriving my learn drive of freedom. You know, but yeah, absolutely. I can viscerally feel the difference between learning based on coercion and based on self-coercion, and the feeling of learning freely.
Exactly. So just to make an analogy, is let's say one person is free, and at some point at 20 years old, he goes to prison. Then spends, I don't know, how many decades you want in jail, and then it's free again. Then that person can appreciate that freedom because he has been deprived of that freedom.
Yeah, and I previously talked about how like I'm living with my parents so that I can save more money and to be able to learn more, and I'm living a very frugal lifestyle so that I can have to work less and spend more time free learning. This is it's like right now I just want to spend as much time as possible doing free learning because it's just so pleasurable, and I have
exactly.
I haven't been doing it for previously I was depriving myself and I wasn't learning like this. It's like previously I was trying to run, but I was having these very heavy weights tight on my feet, and learning wasn't very fun. But right now these weights are off and I can like run very fast and effortlessly and in a pleasurable way. And so what I want to do right now is just run as much as I can because I find it so fun and so liberating and so on. And one of my goals right now is to just find ways to get distracted by other things as less as possible and have as much time as I possibly can to learn freely. Yeah, that's one of my goals right now.
So you want to maximize the time you spend free learning because
exactly,
it's so it's because you don't find anything else that is more pleasurable.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely, yes.
So if you can choose how you want to spend the time, will be free learning.
Oh yeah, no question.
Okay, good to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think do you want to add anything else that we haven't covered?
Let me see. No, I think we basically covered most things of interest. So, no.
Okay. So we'll leave here the anecdotes and the life of Axel from Bulgaria. Oh my god. Yeah. And okay, let me think of an outro. You're free, and you are. So the thing is that you were late on discovering free learning because you were not exposed to that. You didn't have the chance. So, and the purpose of this podcast is giving that opportunity to people. That, oh, is there such a thing? And second, that when they are contemplating the idea of free learning, is that they lose that fear of and bad habits of, oh, there's more people like that, and they are already successful, recovered, and this kind of thing. I'm really grateful so you can share your experience and inspire others that are in the process of discovering free learning. So if you are watching this or in YouTube or listening to this in a podcast, just to let you know that we have a Discord channel if you want to discuss about these topics of free learning, school system, and we are here to help you if you need resources, something to talk about, or whatever. Also, thanks to Alex to join us today. What do you want to say before closing the episode?
Thanks for having me, man. It was a great pleasure to be here.
Likewise. And I hope that your listener also had pleasure and we inspired you to follow your way to free learning.
Yeah, that's a great way to end it, man.
Yeah.